Let's make some noise. Let's go. We got MOD in the house. We got no matter what. No matter what. Damn it. Let's go. Let's do this damn thing, guys. Funny story how this no matter what title came about. I had the title Go for No, and I found out somebody else already had that title Go for No, which that's not a big deal. That could be $2. But who here knows Sharon Lechter? Sharon Lechter is the co-author with Guy Kawasaki of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and a few other books. I was sitting with her, telling her my story, like how I got to where I am, which part of that story is how I'm not dead. I'm not dead because I didn't drink myself to death or end up in a prison 25, 30 years ago because I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. And it's because I found people that knew how to not drink one day at a time, not take drugs one day at a time when I was hopeless. I was a hopeless waste case. And I found people that knew how to do that, and I attached myself to those people. They told me how to do it. They showed me the way. And the way to do that was to go, and they said, here's the secret. You ready for the secret? The recipe? Here's the recipe. I don't know if anybody else needs to know this or you know someone else that needs to know it, but when you found yourself at a dead end and there's no place left but keep going down, and you found the bottom in that particular realm, and you find those guys, they're going to tell you the recipe. And the recipe is to go to a meeting every single solitary day. That's it. Sounds pretty simple.
Yeah.
Go to a meeting every day. Oh, there's a trick too. You don't drink in between meetings. No matter what. And this asterisk is the most important part of the whole damn thing. The asterisk says, even if your ass falls off. Why? Because no matter what, you're going to be on the phone with your sponsor, and you're going to be like, dude, it's my sister's graduation. It's my best day of my life. It's the worst day of my life. I can't go to a meeting. And he's going to remind you, remember the commitment. You are going to go to a meeting every single day, no matter what. Even if your ass falls off, you're going to get yourself to a meeting. So that was the secret. I shared that with Sharon Lechter, and she said, that's the title to your book. Because I said, I've been able to transform that idea into some breakthroughs in my sales career, in my solar career, and I've had breakthrough after breakthrough all around this idea. And she said, Michael, that is the title to your book. So no matter what, even if your ass falls off, and guys, there is no question, this is a recipe for a 7-figure income in sales. It's a repeatable recipe for a 7-figure income in sales. Anybody going to Door-to-Door Con in about 30 days?
Yes, sir.
Is anybody going to be on this stage getting a Golden Door Award? Anybody in the audience? Okay, so right now we're at 0. There's me, right? These guys are guys that have all been through this training in 1 year, and in 1 year ended up on this stage getting an award for selling 1.3 million watts of solar, or 130 solar deals, one of those two. All these guys sold over 130 million watts of solar. Multiply 1.3 million times your comp plan and see what that number equals. How many cents? I like to think of stuff in how much I make per watt. How many cents per watt? You can also do like dollars per watt or $100 per kilowatt. For you smart guys in the audience, you're just moving the decimal point right over. But for me, I like to keep it simple. How many cents? If I sell a 10,000 watt solar system, how much is my paycheck going to be, right? Multiply that times 130. Multiply that number times 130, and that's going to be your 1099 at the end of 2023, and you'll be stepping up onto this stage as well as this stage to get an award. And I'm going to tell you what, I loved last night. Last night was exciting. I got to tell you, from a humble, dude, I'm like sitting here in the audience with you, one of the people here. You're always hoping you're going to have done something that you might get called up to a stage for. And I got to tell you, it's one thing to have some guy that already likes you on social media call you a goat. It's another thing to be called up to a stage in front of the people that are doing what you're doing in this industry, and who are who you guys are, and are being led by these two guys in the wing, Caesar and Legacy. and to be handed a plaque the size of a pizza that says real GOAT. I'm telling you, I don't even know how to put that like into words. Like that's just unbelievable. But my goal is for you to be up here getting that award a year from now. And I'm going to tell you the most exciting, and I'm going to tell you really one of the most sexy things I've ever seen in my life. Is Marcella here? So Marcella, did I screw up there we go. I was bringing this up later, I'll bring it up later again, but I'm just going to bring it up now. This young lady was up here. She doesn't speak English very well. I had a wonderful conversation. It was with her friend who's her interpreter. So she's in this country, doesn't even speak English, maybe a little bit, but really she has an interpreter to have a conversation with a gringo like me. And I'm sitting in this front row. I see her up here with one award for recruiter and another award for top producer in that dress on this stage, and I'm thinking that's one of the hottest goddamn things I've ever seen in my life, literally. So a shout out to her and all the other people that got awards. But what I really wanted to say is that it is not a coincidence that somebody who is up here getting a top producer was also a top recruiter. You want to be a top recruiter? Be known as a top producer. All right, when Legacy was on stage, he wasn't kidding. Legacy had heard about solar, thought about solar, knew one of the best solar guys on the whole planet, which was Caesar, selling the shit out of solar in Yuma. And then Legacy is introduced to me, I'm introduced to him, and we got to work together. And he's looking what I've accomplished and what I've been paid as a solar guy in the last 6-7 years, and reading this content about how compelling and easy this is to do. And he's like, you just changed my life, MOD. I just told Brad Lee I'm no longer a full-time project manager at Lightspeed. I'm hooking up with my boy Caesar, and we're starting Real Solar. That happened, and I didn't go find that guy. That guy found me. That guy was put into a room with me by Brad Lee. So if you become known as a guy who's a top producer, recruiting is going to be effortless. If you're on stage getting one of these awards, people are going to come up to you and say, would you please, would you please show me what do I need to do and how do I need to do it so that I'm on stage making the minimum wage in solar. Which if you show up every day and you know what you're doing and you have great training, the minimum wage in solar is like $500,000 a year. No one on this stage made less than $750,000 a year. Half of those guys weren't in solar a year before they were sitting on that stage. They're where you are now. They're looking at an entire year of solar production and saying, I have the tools, I have the training, I have the vehicle. Real Solar is a 250 mile an hour race car. All we need is drivers. All Caesar and Legacy need are drivers. This thing's put together. It already goes 250 miles an hour. If you're going to sit in that thing, you just got to decide. Am I going to go 250 miles an hour around the track, or am I just going to 80K is good? I can't tell you, Caesar was having trouble getting people to raise their hands. Like, dude, what are you doing here if you're not trying to make $500,000? Like, that's what you're trying to do. Get that, understand it, and let's get with the program. All right, so MOD Sales Academy was literally inspired and put together by me and Brad Lee and with Legacy together to say there's an army of people that need to know how to do this, and we have to mechanize this. And we got into this building here where there's a green screen. Legacy and I worked for months and months and months getting exactly how am I selling 2 to 3 million watts of solar. We put that down into a script, put me in front of a green screen, and it's there for you. When you sign up for real, you acquire this system. And because Legacy's one of the best fucking sales guys on the planet Earth, somehow you get it without paying any money up front. You just get it. No one on planet Earth gets this training program without paying for it except you guys at Real. We let you sell a system or two first before you pay for it. But what is it? It's a complete recipe. It starts out, it's 4 different courses. One is on the mindset. The mindset of what we're talking about. The problem in solar The problem everyone's having in the solar is we all make too much damn money per deal. And we start figuring out, if I can make $3,000 a deal or $6,000 a deal or $9,000 in a deal, you start calibrating your energy. You start calibrating your effort to meet your needs. And what you need is to not get evicted. You need not to get thrown out of your house. You need to not have your credit card shut off. If you got kids, you need to not have to come home and tell the kids, pack your stuff, we're moving. Yeah, we're going to a not as nice neighborhood. Because I couldn't make the rent. I couldn't pay the mortgage. Pack your shit, we're moving, and you're not going to like the place we're moving to. And that's what we're all working for every day, is to not have to have that conversation. Right? And so you're going to figure out how to calibrate your effort and your energy to meet the needs of not having to come home and say, honey, the credit cards are shut off, or get the call from her. Honey, why are none of the credit cards working? Why does the debit card, I'm at the grocery store. Why is the debit card not working? We have all calibrated our energy and our effort to never have to have that conversation. What we're missing is the next conversation. And the next conversation is a 9-figure conversation. A 9-figure conversation looks like you have houses on multiple coasts, in mountains, in deserts, on the sea. Me, I'm going to have a yacht tied out upside of Monaco in the Mediterranean. You've got a 9-figure net worth, and you live your life any damn well you please. Anything you can think of that you might like to do, you can do it by having $100 or $200 million in the bank. You don't need to be a billionaire. In fact, I would suggest you probably don't want to be a billionaire. Being a billionaire is kind of a pain in the ass. Why is it a pain in the ass? Because you've got to give away $1 billion before you die without screwing anybody up. That's a hard job. Ask John D. Rockefeller. It consumed him. How do I give away $1 billion without messing people up? Lotteries ruin people. They literally ruin people. So how are you going to responsibly? The smartest guy on planet Earth is Warren Buffett. He outsourced giving away $58 billion to Bill Gates. He said, I still want to deal with it. Bill, you go ahead. Give it out. You can't take it with you. That means you have to give it to somebody. But while you're on Earth with $100 to $200 million in net worth, you can live off the passive income from that. In other words, you're spending $10 million a year on jet fuel. $10 million a year getting your, whatever, with Brad's driving a Ferrari and a Lamborghinis and all the kind of stuff we'd love to have, saying we own it in an Instagram. All that stuff just comes with a 9-figure net worth. Well, how do you get there? You start today by generating a 7-figure income and still spending the same amount of money that you're spending now, and taking the balance of it and investing it probably into real estate. Knock doors, buy doors. Knock doors, buy doors. That's how you end up with a 7-figure, an income with a 7-figure net worth that turns very quickly into an 8-figure net worth. Once you have an 8-figure net worth, that's FU money. You can work, not work. You can kind of do what you want. If you don't have a dream of having a 9-figure mindset, you're kind of done. You get an 8-figure net worth, you can just sort of live off of that. I arrived at that point in solar in just a few years. And why am I running around like a freaking nut? Why am I standing around back of the room signing books? You think it's for 25 bucks? Fuck you, it's not for 25 bucks. I'm signing books because I'm on my way to having a 9-figure event. I'm in the midst of having a 9-figure event. I'm writing the next book right now. It's about the 9-figure event. What's your 9-figure event? You have more likelihood of being a 100 millionaire than anyone who's ever lived in the history of man. Why? I'll tell you why. Because you are in the midst of the largest transfer of wealth in the history of mankind. You're in the midst of it. It's happening right now. That's a quote, by the way, from that guy I was talking about, Warren Buffett. The decentralization of the ownership of the production, sounds like a Karl Marx thing going on here. The ownership of production of energy is going to go from literally a handful of people on the planet to everyone being able to have their own energy plant that produces their own energy, and from that they're going to get their piece of this pie. And your piece of that pie is going to be astronomical. If we put this together, we put it all into the MOD Sales Academy. This 9-figure mindset is a walk in the park. It's all about what Napoleon Hill talked about. If you can conceive it. So join me right now and conceive a balance sheet. Does anyone not know what a balance sheet is? A balance sheet is where you list your assets and your liabilities. You subtract the two, and the bottom line is your net worth. So in this moment, envision your balance sheet, and your balance sheet has over $100 million worth of assets in it, and less than $100 million in liabilities, which are the loans, the mortgages. And the subtraction of those two numbers is a 9-figure amount. That's $100 million plus. That's all the money in the world you could ever need to do anything you can think of. Having $1 billion just gets you on more, newspaper articles. You can't do more shit other than have to spend time giving the money away. So let's conceive of that right now. Conceive of you making $1 million a year in solar, spending about what you're spending now. You're going to increase your lifestyle, but not to your income, and put enough money away so you end up with a 7-figure balance sheet in the next couple of years, and in the next 7 years, a multiple 7-figure, really an 8-figure deal. And then what's the vehicle? Your vehicle is that you're going to be around as this planet is changing and changing and changing. And the needs that the planet has are going to be served by people who know how to fix problems, solve solutions, and then sell those solutions. You're going to be in a different deal 5 years from now, 7 years from now. And if you have the capital, because you have a 7-figure or 8-figure net worth, you're going to be the owner of that deal. And because you know how to sell this, because you have the recipe to sell a 7-figure dollar amount, and now you can train other people to do that, you're going to build up a company that has a cool little solution. It's going to look like an app, probably, right? And then you're going to sell that thing for a few $100 million or $1 billion. That's just that happens every single day in America. That's going to happen to you if you conceive of it, and then you can see it, and then you can taste it, and then you can touch it, and then you see the path, and then it's just a pedestrian effort. We're going to walk our way to it. And that's the first course, is the 9-figure mindset. We're talking about that every single solitary day. On Friday on MOD Live is a conversation about Financial Freedom Friday. What does that look like? What does it taste like? What is it for you? How are you going to build your way to it? And then we're going to go into the academy and learn how to make appointments. How do I go for no and get yes every single solitary time? That's a hack. It was the breakthrough for me. I thought I was going to a door to try and get someone to say yes. No, I'm just trying to go to the door and do my job. What's my job? Have people tell me no, most of the time. Once in a while somebody says yes. Understanding that is going to completely change you. And then once you get invited to the kitchen table, how are you going to make a compelling presentation that lights the customer's ass on fire? If you're doing a solar presentation correctly, the customer should be a little freaked out. Yeah. I learned how to do that in 1983. We had just come through the energy crisis. We had just gone through the energy shortage. We had just gone through all this inflation and high interest rates and 21% mortgage. That creates a lot of fear in people. And if you can take that fear and channel that fear and help them see what the solution to that fear is, you own them in a good way, in a way that's good for them. But if you're doing this presentation right, it will light their ass on fire. And then when you go into the next portion, which is close it today, I'm not coming back. The title of the course in MOD Sales Academy is called, and I remember telling this to Brad, and go, what the hell are you talking about? I'm not coming back. If you think you're coming back, you're going to have to come back. And because there's not another meeting to go to, you're not coming back. There's never a second meeting. In 1983, I met those guys that told me how to not kill myself drinking. I also ran into another room of guys that knew how to sell big ticket home improvement to homeowners by knocking on their door and getting one shot at the kitchen table. And those sons of bitches knew that meeting was not the meeting about the meeting. That was the goddamn meeting, and if you blow the meeting, they're not getting the value of the product, you're not getting the sale, the company's not getting the job, you're coming home to mama with no money. And don't think that money's coming on Friday. There's no meeting to go to on Friday, regardless of what you want to believe. So you've got to close today. And if that presentation's done right, the customer's ass is going to be on fire, and you're going to be sitting there with literally a fire hose. Literally a fire hose. We're going to build a frame, we're going to hang the door, and when we get to that point, we're just going to calmly, it's not going to be some big jumping up and down thing. The most quietest moment in the presentation is at the close, when you just shut the door. If you've done that presentation correctly and you understand the psychology of why they want to think about it, and you understand the tactics that they're facing fear and greed, and you're just going to remove the fear and remove the greed, you're going to understand you can't change their mind. Why no one ever changes their mind. All you can do is give them new information, give them a new offer, and ask them to make a new decision. And when you do that, that's going to be the quietest moment in the presentation, in the time at their table, and then it's going to be really quiet when you ask them, does this seem like a reasonable plan? And then you're quiet, and they're quiet, and the pressure builds. And what's the fucking answer? Does this seem like a reasonable plan? The answer is, yes, it seems like a reasonable plan. And sometimes you're done, and sometimes they'll say, yes, it seems like a reasonable plan, because you just said it. Everyone see the 60-minute beef where 60 Minutes says stuff and people repeat it back? So you're saying you feel like you were misled. Yes, I feel like I was being misled. So you feel like the government's involved in a conspiracy. Yes, I feel like the government's involved in a conspiracy. Does this seem like a reasonable plan? Well, yes, it seems like a reasonable plan. They're going to say that almost every single time. Now, there may be a but on the end, which means they're about to tell you about an objection. And if you know how to deal with that, you're going to go, oh, good, we're about to close this thing. If you don't, you're going to hear, oh, shit, I thought we were getting somewhere. This looked like a sale. I thought we were doing paperwork. And now they're telling me they want to think about it. If you don't know what to do then, you're doomed. You're going to close at the industry average, which is 18%. 18% is how many people jump in the boat after they see a solar presentation. 18% go, well, what's next? Or you go, who's going to fill out, who's first on the credit app? Oh, me, I got the best credit. Next. 18% of the time, they're going to take the next step with you not knowing how to get them there. They're just going to, let's try the assumption close. The assumption close, the no close, the customer just sort of bought it. He has to close himself. What do I do now? It sounds good. What's next? Come on. Quit selling me and start writing paperwork. That's going to happen less than 18% of the time. How are you going to close 80% of the time? You got to know what the hell you're doing. Yeah. This is a skill. This is a craft. How do you learn a skill? How do you learn a craft? You go to school. Yep. That's right. You show up for school, you take the lessons, you repeat it over and over and over again till you know how to do this. And then you're involved in an every single solitary day effort. MOD Live is a mastermind where we're in. Does anyone know what's the definition of a mastermind? Does anyone, it gets thrown around all the time. Anyone know what the definition is? Napoleon Hill invented the term, and he said when two or more people, hopefully a handful, come together in one place at one time for a common purpose with serious intent and a desire to do well for each other, an additional mind is created. A new mind, an entity that doesn't exist if we're not together. There's a mind in this room, an energy, vibration, imagination, ideas are all channeling through this mind. If I was up here by myself, I would not be feeling this. I don't know, are you feeling this? I can feel it right now. That's the presence of an additional mind. That's a mastermind. This is a master course in mastermind. What is that? When we come together to do this, and we're all working for the exact same thing, and we do it every single solitary day. I mean every day. Every single day. Brief. Chris, this is a... you can't see my slides, it's funny. So, it's a 30-minute mastermind. It starts at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. It's over by 8:30. And there's a transformation that takes place. We're encountering an additional mind. It's a portal into the universe where this energy comes from. And what we're trying to do is generate momentum. Are you a victim to inertia? You're sitting on your ass in a chair right now. I'm moving around. Who's the guy in the room that has some momentum? I'm the guy in the room with momentum. You're sitting on your ass. How are we going to go from sitting on your ass to being on a door, knocking on that door? And the answer is, we're going to take one step. We're going to do one thing. And we're going to do it every day, and that one thing is going to lead to projecting our ass out of a cannon and landing on a doorstep. I get shot out of a cannon every day. You wonder where this energy comes from? I'm a lazy, undisciplined guy. I'm asleep at 8:30 in the morning, not getting shot out of a cannon. If you leave me to my own devices. If you leave me the fuck alone, I will stay up till 3 in the morning and get up at 10:30 every day. I'll still be in my pajamas at 12:30 going, I got a 3 o'clock appointment. Maybe they'll cancel. That's what I look like without momentum. I'm a lazy, undisciplined guy who's hoping that the 3 o'clock appointment cancels. Maybe I'll call to confirm them and they'll jump off the hook. Who here calls appointments that you personally set before you're on the way? Don't do it. All you're doing is inviting them to jump off the hook, and there's that secret son of a bitch side of you who's hoping they do. Why? You get to stay in your pajamas and click next on that freaking Netflix episode list. That's not what we're talking about. But if you're on a call at 8 o'clock every morning talking about and being accountable for what the fuck you're going to do today to get you to this number, like, dude, that's a whole different space and time continuum. You're going to access this thing and find momentum every single solitary day. Here's heard me talk about mini habits. I didn't know this. I had to learn this. I had to learn this for myself. And that's what's going on in this mastermind. And then once a week on Wednesdays, there's a 2-hour training class where the fire coming through this microphone is coming through this Zoom call live, and we're role-playing, asking questions, we're doing this stuff. The reason Real is working is because Legacy saw it. If we had a company that had the culture and the resources that this company has, and we had this training, there's no way we could stop where this thing could go, and it's working. The people who were on this stage came up to me yesterday and talked about how much time they'd spent in this academy and on these calls, and I had Marcella come up and introduce me to her translator who listens with her and translates in English. So we're going to get MOD Sales Academy in Spanish. We're going to add subtitles to it right away, and then we're going to get somebody in this audience is going to be the MOD voice in Spanish. It'd be like when you're in Mexico and you're watching TV and there's Baywatch and what's his name has this Spanish accent. And you're like, wow, that's funny. We're gonna do that. That'll be my Instagram clips for the. Yes, yeah, no, a real somebody in this room. So we're gonna do that. All right, guys. So let's get to the work. Did you guys bring your pads? You got your pads? Caesar said bring a pad. You got your pad, guys. Getting on that stage a year from now, right here, and then cruising through this stage to go to Door Con, and end up with a Golden Door Award is not magical. It's just math. It's just math. It's a numbers game. Everybody's heard that a million times. Sales is a numbers game. You got to do the math. We're going to do it right now. You're going to be the one to decide what that looks like. I want you to take out your phones or an iPad and go to this URL, michaelodsales.com. It's not a web page. It's not a sales pitch. There's nothing to buy there. It's just this worksheet. You're going to open this up, and there's going to be a worksheet.